God damn it. What's up, everybody? It's The Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/thehardyconstruction with your host, Alex and
Captain Olimar.
And today's film is
Wreck 2.
Wreck 2 is a 2009 film about a group of people. No. The action continues from Wreck, with the medical officer and a SWAT team outfitted with video cameras are sent into the sealed-off apartment to control the situation. Who wrote this? Did the Spanish guy write this shit too? Jesus. Anyway, it's directed by Jaime Bagolero y Paco Plaza. Written by Jaime Bagolero, Juan Diaz, and somebody else. There's a bunch of
one
people.
Of your people, Alex.
Don't. Where are they from? From Spain?
There's some kind of non-American.
What? What you'd consider mud people? Is that what you consider?
There's something not from this North American continent. Okay.
If you had your way, you'd have them with their own casinos off somewhere else.
Executed.
Is that what it is? Okay, very good. So Rec 2, or you can, what would you call it? Would you call it Rec 2 or REC 2?
I'd say Rec.
So Rec 2 is out.
Reek.
Like Reek? Well, REC is obviously the short word.
Shit.
The short word for record when you use your.
Wow, how long did it take you to figure that out?
It took me till this film. I was just like, I didn't know what that meant. I thought it was a Spanish phrase for vampires. So it's a sequel.
Vampires.
It's a sequel. I really ran out of something to say there. It's a sequel to the, obviously, Rec 1, and there's also the American equivalent, which was Quarantine, which we covered a couple episodes back. Quarantine was almost a shot-for-shot remake of Rec.
Which was better, Rec or Quarantine? Because I still never seen Rec 1.
They're similar. They're actually very similar, so I wasn't so...
Dexter's sister is like a sick actress.
Yeah, she's pretty good. Jennifer Carpenter? Yeah. She was really good, so I enjoyed her very much in that film, and she really carried it, so I was not offended by the remake at all. And it was shot for shot. The only thing that, like I said before, is that they took out was the stereotypical gay landlord in the film. That guy was funny. And but it was both films were basically shot for shot. They're really good. The first film setup is this woman who's, I think her name was Angela Vidal. I think her name was the same in the American remake. So it was like Jennifer Carpenter playing a Spanish girl. And in both films, this reporter is covering a night shift with the local firemen's brigade, right? And so she goes into this.
She wants to go make a documentary or something.
Right. I guess she's just doing like a local piece with them, and they decide they hear over the radio that there's an emergency of a woman who's sick at a building complex. So they go to the building complex, and what happens is the woman is not only sick, she's infected with some kind of disease, and they quarantine the whole building, which
rabies-like disease.
She's bleeding profusely between the legs. It's called Satan's curse. That's why they have hysterectomies. You know that's where the word hysterical comes from, because of hysterectomies in women's vaginas. Because it
makes sense. All women have
had no idea what was going on with women. They're like, boy, she's real crazy between her legs.
Get this. Like, help me. She's like gushing blood.
This bitch got a hysterectomy.
Never mind.
Give this bitch a hysterectomy. Hey, wait a minute. She's hysterical. And then they would be like, anyway, so there's like about 10 or 20 many people trapped in this apartment building while they cannot get outside and they cannot escape the monsters within. And the original film ends both ways, with Angela Vidal getting dragged off into the darkness by this sick-looking 8-foot-looking creature, a 6-foot woman, I guess, that looked like very ghoulish. It was really cool. Shot all in night vision in the final sequence. So this film automatically picks up from that immediately after. It actually starts out with the final shot from the first film, which I guess sets up the nice ramping for it. So I think you'd be lost if you didn't see the first film, but I don't think it hurts that much.
Yeah.
And this film starts out with a group of, what are they, SWAT members?
Yeah, it's a priest and 2 SWAT members.
Well, we don't know it's a priest yet, but it's actually a group of SWAT guys, and they all have cameras because they're told that they need to document something at this building, which has been sealed up with this whole almost like plastic tubing and stuff like that. And they're going with this guy who's supposed to be the team.
What's his name? Christoph Christie, the guy, the guy that did the Central Park thing.
What?
He wraps buildings and takes pictures.
Oh,
of
right,
them.
right. And then they did the rivers where they put
The
whatever.
hell is that guy's stupid name? Christie.
I think it was Adolf. And they're with this guy named Dr. Owen. I swear to God, I thought the Dr. Owen character, I thought they hired a white guy to play a Spanish character. Because his pronunciation...
Cristo. Jean-Claude and Cristo.
Okay, everybody Wikipedia that and come back to us. So the guy, Dr. Owen, is leading this troop of SWAT members, and they go inside this plastic tubing, and they're inside the building now, and Dr. Owen is telling them that they need to find out the origin of this, the zombies. The first film is a zombie film.
They were kind of like they weren't even zombies. They were kind of like 28 Days Later, like
right. Yeah. It was more
rabid,
like
infectious things.
Yeah, so it was like the 28 Days Later kind of crazy, insane people running around and shit like that. I don't know if they did the supernatural stuff that happens in this second one.
No, I don't think they did. That's why I'm not a big fan, maybe, of this as much as I would be.
Because in the sequel, the creatures are able to climb ceilings and stuff like that. In the first one, they were just kind of berserk 28 Days Later, just like they said.
I don't remember them doing anything like impossible like in the first one.
But I think obviously it was set up though, because at the beginning of towards the ending of the first film, there's a huge nod, I think, towards Evil Dead, where they go up to this. Obviously, they find out there was an experimentation done at the end of the first film, and they play this tape recorder back just like they would in Evil Dead. You know what I mean? And you hear this guy's voice talking about all these experimentations.
Yeah, and they found like the lab upstairs. I remember there was like a lab.
Yeah, that's when that film kind of went from a zombie film to something more supernatural, but it didn't go all the way that this second one did. With actual possessions and stuff like that.
I'd think that I'd really like this movie because. Right. It's basically the combination of 28 Days Later and like Demon Knight or something, but I don't care for it that much.
And why is that? Well, let's get into a little bit of a first.
It's hard. I know you're supposed to like swallow your belief, or what is it? Suspend your disbelief. Well, I don't know what the hell these terms are. Suspend your disbelief when you watch movies like this.
Yes.
And maybe I just wasn't in the mood. But because I know that they're not demons in the first one, and there's like no indication really that they are, it kind of like just annoyed me that they did that.
I would say at the end that they kind of pointed out it was more than just demonic possession.
I just took it more like what's that movie where Brad Pitt's a crazy person and Bruce 12 Monkeys. I took it like a 12 Monkeys.
Hey, come on, no, let's not say stuff like that. Oh, you're talking about a movie? Okay.
What are you thinking?
Never mind. Only smart people will get that joke.
Okay,
so
that's smart.
So this the first one kind of does lead that, but I guess if you're looking at the first film, it's just kind of a 28 Days Later zombie film.
No, 28 Laters is better than 28
Laters. That's like you can put anything in. There's 28 candy bars later, 28 jugs of soda later. It's just that kind of film.
It's always later though.
And this one, we're kind of led 15 minutes into it, we find out it's more than just zombies. It's actual possessions. Because the guy leading the case is this guy named Dr. Owen, who has this very weird face. He looks like he's out of place for the film, but he's not. He's a good actor, I think. And
he looks like a zombie himself in several points.
Yeah, because he has this giant scar on his face, and he's like leading them around. But he's very skeletal looking, and he looks like Jack Skellington if he had skin. And he's leading these around, and there's a part where they're being attacked by one of the infected, who actually takes over one of the SWAT members, and because the pathogen is carried through blood and saliva, it's not carried by air like the original.
It's very much based on zombie rules.
Yeah, so the blood can be, that whole thing where blood is life, so life, can continue through this blood pouring all over your system and stuff like that.
You are such a poet.
Is that what it is? Thank you. I'm glad I stole that from somebody else. The main guy behind the camera, who were mostly through POV, because I was afraid that since all the SWAT guys were going to be faceless for the most part, because they're all wearing the same kind of uniform, that we'd be lost. But the cameraman stays by this character named Russo.
Also, what the hell is I mean, okay, I understand. When you have movies with first-person camera, you gotta kind of just put aside the unrealistic idea that there's going to be a guy holding a camera, first of all, for hours without shaking and dropping it.
And the thing is, he had an actual camera, right? He didn't have like a side camera like everybody else did. He had an actual physical camera, which was kind of dumb.
Yeah, and he's getting chased by these things, and he's still holding the camera.
See, I could
The
understand.
camera got hit with a hammer at one point. It was still okay.
Right, I could understand if I was right. It was a physical giant, like actual film camera he had on his shoulder, or video camera, because he's able to link into other people's camera feeds. I don't know how that works with that kind of camera.
That's like a military thing, probably.
Yeah, but not with a physical camera like that. Doesn't make any sense. It would make sense if they're all linked up. I'm getting a little, too logistical here, because everybody else had kind of those, the aliens kind of camera system where they had a camera
in
attached
the goggles,
to their.
right?
Yeah, right. Or it was actually on their shoulder pads. And the main guy, Russo, who's funny, he's played by two guys. He's played by Pablo Rosso, but they call him Russo in the subtitles. But then another guy does his voice, so I guess they had a cameraman. I guess an actor couldn't be that good of it. Because it was a cameraman. It was a cameraman is different than an actor, I guess. Just like I'm sure the guy in...
he says like 3 things.
He talks throughout the film, but that's the thing. He's an actual cameraman. He's probably one of the better cameramans because he knew. This is where I'm gonna get nerdy about film. This guy probably is a cameraman, so he knows aesthetically what to shoot and what not to shoot.
Right.
And I'm sure if they put an actor, I'm sure an actor can do well, but there's a difference between that and what's that film that we taught Matt, the guy who did the giant monster film around New York City.
Oh,
Project.
Starts with a C. Starts with a C.
Cunt Mangler.
No, it starts with a C. It starts with a C.
It starts with a C. Really?
Yes. Whatever.
Matt Reeves, director of Giant Monster movie that attacked
New York City.
Everybody thought it was Godzilla. Cloverfield, correct. And you know how that character, the main character, one of the main characters, HUD, who's the funny guy, and he was running around with the camera. You can tell they just did his voiceover, and they had a camera guy actually running around. So that's what they did with this film. And he was voiced by somebody else named Rafa.
They should have been really abstract with it and had him voiced by a child or something.
Yeah, there was. Hey, what's going on? But the funny thing is with the film is that there's a part where I was like, what? Why would he do that? The cameraman literally just did it for aesthetics in the film, because there's a part where another character gets possessed, and the priest is trying to speak through the main demon, and the camera nicely goes behind the possessed kid to make sure he gets the really dramatic shot of the priest asking him, and you're like, oh, this is a little bit too pretty looking for this movie. But so anyway, they find out that the main guy that's leading them on the crusade to find this information, they're trying to find the blood sample of this girl who was the origin of this pathogen, because apparently years before, this guy from the Vatican or something of the Vatican set this priest out to get this girl who was possessed, and they hunkered her up at the penthouse of this building complex where he tested on her.
That kind of cancels out some of the stuff from the first movie with the rabies and the animal origin.
I think she might have attacked the dog, because the dog was the origin of all that shit that happened in the first film, and the dog got loose. There was a dog in the first film owned by this little girl and her mother and the father. And the father shows up in the sequel in this one. I don't remember if the actors were all the same. I'm sure they were, because these movies were shot like a year or 2 years between each other. And
I think some of them were the same, from what I read.
And the dog was attacking people, or it bit the little girl, it bit somebody. And anyway, so I assume the dog was sniffing around and got attacked by the monster woman. And anyway, in this film, the guy who's leading them, Dr. Owen, proceeds to show them that he's actually a priest trying to find out, how to destroy... how they could get this blood sample, and
meanwhile he sets the fucking sample on fire with holy water.
Yeah, because he's trying to test it, but then one of the others they actually do find the sample, and the SWAT guy destroys it like an asshole because he was on fire.
Just ripped off her arm or something and just taken it?
That's what I think, because they actually do get into a confrontation with the creature at the end.
And she even says here, and then pukes out all this blood. Why don't they just grab something?
Right, and they blow her head up. And I'm like, does the blood turn bad? I mean, it's right there, isn't it? Can't you just get the sample from the creature?
Everywhere.
Doesn't make any sense. So anyway, the SWAT guys are having a confrontation with the priest because he won't let them leave unless he gives the word to get out. Do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing. And
Bird is the word.
But the film does kind of run like if you're watching a first-person video game.
It was kind of making me dizzy, I have to admit. I guess I just wasn't maybe in the mood for this kind of fast-pacedness when I watched it, but it really was too all over the place at points that I'm just like, oh yeah. Plus, I'm trying to read like subtitles, and it was just making me dizzy.
Yeah, because the film splits into three narratives in a way because and I don't think it was
Stupid kids, Tito.
I know that was annoying as shit. That's what I'm gonna get into. The first half hour of the film is following the SWAT guys and the priest, and they're dealing with all these zombies. And I will say that this movie isn't as it's a good as a continuation, but I don't think it's as exciting as the first film.
I agree.
But there are parts where you're like, okay, cool.
Well, then again, I can't agree because I haven't seen Wreck. I've seen Quarantine.
Quarantine is shot for shot the same movie, so I don't think there's any much difference. It's funny because a lot of the zombies that got killed in the first film aren't there. They disappeared, like they got up and walked away, and then that's why the SWAT team comes in. But anyway, the SWAT team happens to run by a couple of kids with video cameras running around, and after the first half hour is up, cut to the second half of the story, which is these asshole kids that are bored, trying to launch a rubber sex doll. Is it plastic or rubber sex doll off of a roof with rocket launchers?
You own a couple. Read the label.
I would never launch them off of my roof. I only launched them off of my love tool. So it's these kids. What is it? Tito, Mide, and Ori.
It's like a geyser. I don't know. I just remember Tito.
It is. Yeah, Tito's a kid with the. Is he the asshole kid that gets possessed?
I don't like him at all.
Yeah, I know. They did well for playing obnoxious assholes. I hope they weren't playing likable kids because they were not. They were kind of just like these.
The girl was likable, but
I thought she was a real fucking asshole too. I thought they were all assholes actually, except for the guy who's holding the camera. The other kid, the obnoxious brother who gets possessed. I actually liked him a lot better when he was possessed because I was like, oh, he's a dickhead actor. But then when he got possessed, he was pretty fucking cool. Like, his look, like his act when he was possessed was pretty fucking like sick.
I don't understand what rules this. I know there is no rules with demons, sort of, but like, they're kind of like every rule is zombies, but then randomly there's this demon element, and then also they're like making like a vampire thing with the head vampire almost. Like you have to kill the head girl. That's not how it works.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what happens.
I guess it can work however they want, but like it just seems like they're just like making it up so they have an excuse to do it.
And since it's happening literally probably like an hour away from what happened from the first film, because this is literally happening like an hour after the events of the first film, so it's not like they waited a week or something to go inside this building with this Vatican guy. You know what I mean? So you can look at it that way. But the whole sub story with the kids kind of goes nowhere, because they're just led to get locked up somewhere else. And
I guess they'll be in Rec 3 if that's like
Rec 3 came out, and Rec 3 is about like it's a side story that happens between part 1 and 2.
It's kind of like Saw. If is what it seems like they're going for.
I guess what they're going. I wish with this kind of
like
film,
an ongoing story.
While watching it, I wish they had put it in a film like in a theater that has that 4D technology. That like Universal Studios rides where you just hear sound effects while you're doing it. Right. Anyway, the chairs move and shit like that. Like that's what these movies should have, like in every theater.
God, can you imagine though if you felt the motion of that camera?
I'd probably vomit and shit and probably come in my pants.
Just like vomit everywhere. Extra popcorn buckets just for that.
But the third film takes place at a wedding that goes awry with all these demons going crazy and stuff. And it's the posters. I'm gonna actually want to see them because you know what I mean. I saw this one and it wasn't so bad, and it makes me want to see the third one because the third one they're selling it with this bride with a chainsaw attacking. So they're trying to go real over the top with the movies, and I think with the fourth one it's called Rec 4 Apocalypse. So maybe everything goes nuts. But anyway, towards the second half, when the half an hour of the kids' storyline comes to a close, then we're seeing Angela Vidal from the first one.
Yeah, I liked where it went with that.
Her name is it Angela in this one?
It is Angela. It's the same name as a certain lovely demon from another movie we just reviewed.
You talking about that fucking
the horrible
shit?
It wasn't that bad. Come on, Night of the Demons 2.
So she shows up and she's live in a well.
Oh, and Angela Baker, another lovely Angela. Let's think of more Angelas. Angela Lansbury.
Angela from Who's the Boss?
Yeah.
So Angela shows up and she's unscathed. She says she got away from the monster in the first one. I don't know how, but it all leads to this guy. This is where I was kind of like I started understanding what you were talking about. How now like that they had the camera from the first film with the guy.
Yeah.
The cameraman who died in the first film, right? And the battery's magically on now, and he's able to turn it on and off into night vision and stuff like that. Why the SWAT team didn't have it in the first place? I don't know. Why they didn't send in a SWAT team that was well prepared.
I was getting so annoyed when he kept saying, what was with that door with the night vision?
That's where I'm kind of like, where's this magic shit coming from? Like this, now this is like
it's not the Dark Tower. Right?
Yeah.
It's the door.
You see Stephen King talks about himself in third person. He's like, "Oh, it was a great. Stephen King was amazing." Anyway, but yeah, that kind of stuff. I was like, "Oh, this is kind of stupid." Oh, it is stupid. But yeah, then they had those magical effects, like you can see certain things in rooms. It was like a video game thing where you could turn off the light and you see a door there, and then when you turn it on, it's no longer there. Or the sink turns into a well, a bottomless well. It's very strange shit going on, and. Why the priest Dr. Owen did not come in with a team? They're from the Vatican, right? Wouldn't they have Vatican warriors or some? Well, that's kind of stupid. But you know what I mean? Wouldn't they have?
Why would they only send 2 SWAT?
Why would they send
send like 20 SWAT guys?
Right. I mean, they're trying to find the origin of a fucking demon. I mean, come on. Wouldn't you send? If
they didn't tell the SWAT that.
Yeah, but why would you even send in guys that have? You know what I mean? Isn't that a lot of shit to?
Why don't they just like get a fire hose and spray holy water in there?
Yeah, right. Because fireworks also work apparently on demons because their heads explode.
That was a cool scene.
That was a pretty neat scene. But yeah, it's very strange that they didn't send in like a group of guys that would know what to do. Do you know what I mean? If they knew this girl was possessed all this time, let's say she was there for like 30, 40 years because that's how old the photo looked. Right. Like, they would have had stronger tabs on this guy taking these experimentations with her. I don't know. I kind of maybe dozed off when they were talking about how strong she was dealing with it, but whatever. Anyway, in short, the Angela, we find out, is possessed by the demon towards the end. Why she even bothered to drag them up? I guess she couldn't just fucking walk out the building because maybe she was going to get killed by the snipers outside. So
I guess she's just having... fun, maybe. Demons like to have fun.
So she's able to possess her, be in 2 bodies at once, or because she has this, they show at the end...
that worm thing.
This giant worm that goes inside Angela's body from the giant creature.
You think that was a nod to Freddy Krueger or something like that?
No, I think that was that was in the Mexican tequila joke. You see, because with anyway.
You
but
jokes.
What were the strong parts of this film for you?
I mean... It was cool. I don't know. I got pissed off
because of all the crazy rules they threw out from the first film and just kind of started.
You
felt like they just built up with it.
It just seemed. Yeah, I don't mind I love demons. I love zombies, but don't take something that is something and then completely change it just for the sake of making a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're like, well, we're tired of rabies. Let's go with demons. Okay, how can we do that? And then they just thought of all these ideas.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I still felt like they sort of hinted it towards to the first one, so I'm not as offended as you, but I totally get what you're saying, that it feels like they felt like changing the genre. It's like turning...
It's weak writing.
It's like turning a vampire into a werewolf in the sequel kind of thing.
Right.
I get what you're saying.
Unless there's a real way they did it, like a werewolf bit the vampire or something, but don't just do it and say that that's how it always was. No, it was a vampire. It wasn't a werewolf. They were fucking rabies, not demons. And unless I'm missing something, I have to rewatch the first one. Maybe, but it might be really stupid.
but I get what you're saying, and this film, I think it's good for what it is because it got a lot of good reviews for what it was. I mean, it's not a horrible movie. It's pretty quickly paced. I mean, the kids, I didn't like them enough to give a shit about their sequence. Except for when the kid turns into possessed monster and he's puking and coughing. He's not puking, but he's about to puke, and he's pretty awesome. I like the priest. He's kind of a dickhead character, but I understand. Yeah, he's kind of annoying. You just don't like him. Angela I like, but she's very little in the film, and she's there to kind of set up, I guess, part 3 or part 4. I don't know if she's in part 3. I doubt it if it's a side quill, as they call it, with that annoying term. But I think all in all, it's a good entry into the series. I guess if you're gonna watch these 4 movies, I don't know when part 4 comes out, but I guess if it's something to kill an hour.
It's still not out?
Part 4 I don't think is out yet. Part 3 is.
Okay.
Part 3 came out earlier. Late of last year, I believe. But I think it's you know, if you want to kill an hour and 20 minutes, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, it was quick. I'll give it that.
It's like watching a playthrough of a first person video game, basically, but it's not as annoying. Like I was just recently watching the playthrough of this game, and I'm telling you, I don't play video games anymore. But I was watching this thing. You should check it out. It's called BioShock Infinite, and it just shows you how much work has gone into something. Like you can tell there was 10 years of work going into this game that just got put out, and I was like, holy shit. So it's kind of like that same feeling that they gave a shit art wise and, you know, making it look cool visually. So I'm not so offended by it.
They didn't care about the writing.
Right. For this one, right? But if you saw Quarantine, I would suggest you can watch this film, because Quarantine is this film sequel, I would say, because they did make a Quarantine 2, but because of US, they didn't want to, I guess, waste.
Oh, it's Quarantine 2, really?
Oh, but here's the thing. Here's what they did with Quarantine 2.
Probably not anything like
They made Quarantine 2 a standard zombie film about zombies attacking a airport. Second person. It
has nothing to do with
No, it's like a regular. What that film looks like is that they had a script lying around for a zombie film.
And they plugged on.
And it's not even a first person zombie film. It's just like a regular zombie film in an airport.
So it's like Troll 2, how it's
I guess so.
Not even about trolls, and it's you know.
Yeah, and they just made it some regular fucking sci-fi. They couldn't just have made a sequel of this same shit. You know what I mean? This film, I would see a lot more people watching it in the United States theater, because it has.
I don't understand what our deal is with remake. I'm sure I've said this many times, but why America feels the need to take movies that are perfectly good and remake them.
Yeah, with this they could have just easily done the same thing they did with the first one, but they decided to fuck around and make that one. So if you wanted a sequel to Quarantine, just watch this one and you'll be fine, because it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
it's not a bad movie. It's not terrible. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's a good time killer, and it has cool action sequences and cool zombie. Not enough interesting demon stuff in it, really, but
yeah,
it kind of gets the job done.
Way more with zombies and demons are so much cooler than zombies.
Had they just stuck with the SWAT team, I think it would have been a really successful film instead of going with those fucking kids. But I guess they tried to give the kids some sort of make you feel bad for him when he turns to a zombie, turns to a demon. But
I didn't feel
no
bad
way.
for him.
Not
he
at all.
Deserved it. He went in there like an asshole.
He was a little prick. And then when the girl shot the fireman by mistake, I was so angry at her too, because I knew that was gonna happen. But I was I was just so upset with her. But the other kid, I didn't really have any problems with. He was attracted to the sister, so what can you do? But anyway, other than that, I think the film kind of gets what it's supposed to get done, which is making it kind of a raucous action film, horror film. It even starts out with that, cheesy metal techno. It's like supposed to be a thrill ride. So for what it is, I think it's pretty successful. So with that, I'd give this movie a 7 out of 10. 8-foot looking women. Also, another movie with demonic stuff, giving a lesbian kiss. You notice that? After Night of the Demons 2? Shoving a giant, 3-foot worm down another woman's throat with no orgasm.
It's like you have this inherent skill to steal the one I'm going to say.
Good.
Damn it.
What about you?
Ah, goddamn. Okay. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Priest finally taking that extra step and not only molesting, but now shooting little kids in the head.
That's just so they wouldn't tell anybody, right?
Right, exactly. He wasn't possessed. He was more just like, he wanted to tell them so bad. He was
don't tell nobody's nothings. Okay. So that, Danny, what's...
Oh, and Angelica Houston.
So with that, what's our next film, Danny?
The Thing, and I really kind of can't decide if I want to do the original or the remake. The original, I mean, is awesome, but the remake, we could kind of pull it apart and maybe be a little more interesting. So why don't you decide, remake or original?
Why don't we do both?
You want to?
Yeah, what the fuck do I care?
Okay, fine, we'll do a comparison.
Although the thing...
I know it's a prequel. It's
yeah, right.
But, I mean, it's the same...
Very good, Danny. Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, go ahead, continue.
But fuck you.
So with that, our next films are The Thing, the original, as well as the prequel make. Now with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Angelica Houston.
Bye-bye for Demon Month.
What the shadows?
The horror deconstruction.
Angela Baker, Angela Harris, Angela.
Lansbury.